Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. Today I want to go through and share with you guys some new charts and explain my thoughts and perspectives on why I believe that this is about to be the biggest altcoin and cryptocurrency bull run that we have ever seen before. Institutions and on-ramps for new money to flood into these markets have been growing like we have never seen before. This is going to create so much demand at a time where the financial systems are falling apart globally. People that are investing into cryptocurrencies are going to set themselves up to make multi-millions of dollars and then some if they choose to invest at the smart times of the cycle, which we are at right now. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Remember, guys, to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. And guys, make sure you join the fastest growing and the very best Discord community in crypto. If you want to congregate with the rest of my community of over 17,000 members, make sure you sign up for my Discord by clicking inside the description of this video, and there you're going to find the invitation link to my server. Now, on the Discord, I also offer my VIP content of my video course and signals. So if you guys want to ever copy my portfolio, follow every single trade that I take so that you guys can make the most profit for yourself over this next cycle, then make sure you stay all the way to the end of this video, because then I'm going to take a couple minutes to explain how you guys can get signed up, the pros of doing so, and what it's going to take to get you guys going today. One final thing, guys, before we jump into the video is I have this amazing free study guide inside of my ebook, 38 pages long, full of a lot of exciting information that's going to teach you guys the ins and outs to trading and investing. I've spent a lot of time dedicated towards making this so I can give a resource for new guys getting into these markets so that you can understand exactly what to do and how to understand these markets along with the terminology. I've also got a 10-part quiz packed in there so you guys can go through, read all the contents of the ebook, and then quiz yourself so you retain all of that knowledge learned. So once again, links are provided for you in the description, and with all that being said, guys, let's jump right into this amazing video today. So before we jump into the altcoin analysis, I wanted to just quickly go over Bitcoin, because what we are seeing right now is truly unbelievable. I don't think that there is a single person out there that expected this type of expansion to happen after we got this retest. I mean, yes, everybody expected it to be bullish, but overall, I do not expect anybody to be really thinking that we were rallying up this high. Bitcoin's currently sitting at just under $18,000, and it is showing no signs of slowing down. Now, with that being said, guys, I just wanted to quickly say that this is a time where there's a lot more risk inside of holding Bitcoin because of the fact altcoins have been suppressed and Bitcoin has been on this tear. I do expect a local top to be in relatively soon. And honestly, guys, I do not think that we're going to be up at these price levels for much longer before we do experience some type of sell-off. Now, you guys already know I'm not going to get into too much detail. All I'm going to tell you guys is I'm targeting about 14K. That's where I'm going to be watching out for a retrace once we do get it. You know, that's going to be about a 20% drop. If we manage to go all the way up to all-time highs before topping out, then that's going to be about a 30% drop. And so that's really what I'm going to be watching out for. When this happens, I do expect that altcoins are going to have a lot of that suppression lifted off of them, and then that's going to be where they start to rally. And so this is a great time to be unloading Bitcoin profits into altcoins. I personally see that this isn't going to be topping out relatively soon. And when that happens, we should see a lot of momentum and new money flooding into those altcoins, which is why I wanted to cover today's video, is because I honestly think that right now is truly one of the last but good buying opportunities that we're going to have inside of the altcoins because of the fact how parabolic Bitcoin's getting, guys. We're already at the point of the cycle, which I've been telling you guys, by the end of this year, I expected Bitcoin to be at or around the all-time high mark. And the fact that we're pretty much there is following perfectly to my analysis that I've been pointing out for, over a year at this point. And so because we're following my analysis so closely, I would expect that altcoins are going to continue to grow up as well. That's the one thing that we haven't seen quite yet, is the altcoins start to rally. But ultimately, altcoins have been suppressed. As Bitcoin's rallied up and made this big move, altcoins have pretty much just petered out right at resistance. And so because of that, ultimately when Bitcoin does decide to top out, I would expect that money to then flow into the altcoins for them to make their next leg up. And so I just wanted to keep you guys aware of that. Overall, still the same trading plan, still the same analysis, but now that Bitcoin's rallying up to these all-time highs, expect things to get very explosive inside of those altcoins. Now, guys, I wanted to share with you guys this chart, this analysis that I've made inside of Ethereum, talking about Bitcoin and comparing the two cycles, because what I found here is going to perfectly share why I'm so bullish on Ethereum and why I'm so bullish on the altcoin market in general. So here we are, guys, taking a look at Ethereum. Now, I wanted to take a look at Ethereum and I wanted to share with you guys the entire cycle, because ultimately, guys, the most important thing to understand is whatever happens to Ethereum is going to happen to the rest of the altcoins. Bitcoin's the leader and the driver and the force inside of this cryptocurrency market. It's the first cryptocurrency, it's the strongest, best performing cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin is also a little bit more expensive. And so people that maybe have a lesser amount of funds than other people would choose to invest into altcoins for the potential of making even more of a higher ROI. Now, this is the biggest reason why everybody's flocked to altcoins. This has always been the thing. Buy altcoins, accumulate more Bitcoin. That's been the cycle that we've been through since I've been in crypto, since back all the way in 2016. Now, with that being said, guys, if Ethereum is to do very well, that means the rest of the altcoins are going to do very well. Now, if Ethereum was to do very bad, if Ethereum went to new lows, altcoins are screwed and they're probably not going to come back. Maybe a very select few that genuinely serve a real purpose in society, but the vast majority of cryptocurrencies out there are bubbles. And I think that that's the thing to understand. You know, it's going to be the same way as what happened back in the early internet bubble, the dot-com bubble, where we had, you know, a number of internet stocks that just went crazy, right? You could have made millions of dollars had you timed that bubble perfectly. Now, with that being said, once the bubble actually popped, there was only about 5 to 10% of those internet companies that actually maintained trajectory, and they kept growing even after the bubble. And this is going to be the same way for crypto, guys. The majority of cryptocurrencies out there are complete scams, and if they're not a complete scam, they're copying something else and then just kind of repackaging it as the knocked off version. And overall, I'm not saying that you can't make a bunch of money off of these, but I'm just saying that you should not be holding these long term. And the ones that you should hold long term are going to be the ones like Bitcoin, the ones like Ethereum. And obviously you could make the case for XRP or Chainlink, but even then, ultimately, when the bull run tops out, you don't really want to be holding much crypto at all. I'm going to be exiting out at least 90% of my portfolio. I don't want to be holding this stuff as it crashes 80+%. I want to be out of this and then be looking to rebuy that dip. But guys, we got to understand here that inside of these bubbles, things get very crazy. And if we want to see ourselves make a bunch of money, we want to see Ethereum do well. Now, I personally am a very big long-term bull on Ethereum. I really like it. I believe that it's going to be here to last unless some unforeseen black swan event rolls through, which is why I wanted to cover it in today's video. Now, what I want to talk about with Ethereum is just how correlated Ethereum actually is to the original Bitcoin cycles that we saw. Now, one of the things with Ethereum is the fact that this thing has only had one cycle. I mean, if we throw it all the way back here, you know, Ethereum started back here in about 2015, right? About the end of 2015, mid-2015, approximately around that time frame, that is where Ethereum really started coming into fruition. And all we've ever had is just a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave impulse. And you guys already know I've talked about Elliott wave theory on this channel plenty of times. Elliott wave theory behaves that there's 3 sets of impulse waves for every wave. So in this case, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? That's just one impulse wave. So what that means is that this entire move from, you know, 40 cents, or the lowest point that Ethereum was ever at, all the way up to $1,450, this was just the first cycle or the first move in an Elliott wave sequence. This, to you guys, probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but for the people that it does, this is very, very big stuff. And I'm going to share with you guys right now why it's so important. So this is what I was talking about in yesterday's video with Elliott wave theory. Every wave has 3 sets of impulse waves. So inside of the first wave, you have 3 impulse waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C, right? So this is just wave 1. Now, this is where Ethereum is. It's only ever had the first 3 impulse waves. We are still right here in the grand scheme of things. And this is important to understand, guys, because when we look at the valuation of a market cycle, which I'm going to share with you guys right here. So this is an example of the valuation of a market cycle. Now, this shows the entire cycle from beginning to blow off top and then the crash. And this kind of shows how people invest in it. So at the very beginning, you have the stealth phase. This is like the very, very beginning stuff. You know, this is where smart money comes in. Really, nobody knows about this stuff besides the very early adopters, right? And then what comes next is the institutional investors. This is called the awareness phase. Now, this is where we finally have enough liquidity for real institutions to really start accumulating inside of these markets. This is really where you get the first sell-off, and this is really what starts that big parabolic move, or the bubble phase, right? During the bubble, this is where the public starts to come in, media attention, enthusiasm, greed, delusion, new paradigm, and then we crash, right? Now, this is the valuation of a market cycle. Now, where we are at right now, based off of Elliott wave theory, is still the very first impulse wave. Now, why is this important to understand when we are looking at the valuation of a market cycle? Well, Elliott wave theory itself is based around human emotion. And the way that the one wave works, the very first impulse inside of a cycle, is it basically states that this is where the real this is really the beginning phases, or where smart money comes into play. So smart money starts the first impulse because this is where they're getting in at the ground floor. They knew this was revolutionary technology, and then they start the first little impulse, right? And so based off of Elliott wave theory, the first impulse is basically the same as saying smart money, or the stealth phase, the very, very beginning of a market cycle. Now, guys, when we look at Ethereum, this thing has only ever had 3 impulse waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And so what that means is that this entire move here is just a one wave. This entire move is just the same as this little one right here. And so long term, where we are getting ready for is this type of expansion right here. Now next, I really want to talk to you guys about how this is correlated to Bitcoin's market structure. Now, if we take a look at the original Bitcoin trend, right? This is the OG Bitcoin cycle. This is from beginning to where we're at today at, just under $18,000. And I wanted to share with you guys how the Elliott wave looks to me, and where we are really at with Ethereum today. Now, in my opinion, this is pretty much where we're at. This was the first Bitcoin cycle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Then we had this big extended 5 wave. This was the first Bitcoin cycle. And then we had, the same type of correction. Little A, B, C back down, right? And so what that means is that this entire move was our first set of impulse waves. That means that our first impulse for Bitcoin went all the way from, a penny basically, all the way upwards of $32, and then back down to $2. And this was wave 1. Now, in my opinion, what we've seen up to this point was a 3 wave. From Bitcoin from $2 all the way upwards of 20,000. That, in my opinion, was a 3 wave. And what we're getting ready for is the final blow off top, or the 5 wave. And this is really what I'm expecting for Bitcoin. Now, the reason why this is important to understand is what we're going to be comparing Ethereum to is this move right here. So basically, Bitcoin's first move went from 5 cents to $32 and then back down to $2. This was the first impulse in that move. So it would have been the same as right here. This first little Elliott wave sequence, right? That is where we saw Bitcoin make that first impulse. Now, when we actually take this chart here from, 5 cents, $32 back down to $2, if we take this chart and overlay it on top of the Ethereum chart, it is going to blow your mind because it's going to perfectly show you guys how correlated Ethereum actually is to Bitcoin. So I've actually gone through and I've overlaid it on top of Bitcoin, and I'm going to go through and actually share with you guys the similarities here. Because in my opinion, it's truly amazing how similar these two are. Now, this is really where it gets interesting in my opinion. So we're going to compare these two charts right now. Now, inside of original Bitcoin, this is when it went from 5 cents upwards of, maybe 20 cents or maybe up to a couple bucks. It really wasn't a big impulse, but this is where Ethereum went from 40 cents to $21. But guys, you can see just how insanely correlated these two are. It's practically the exact same chart. In Ethereum, we get added to exchanges, we drop to new lows, we make our first little higher high, and then that's ultimately what takes us into that first impulse. With Bitcoin, it was the exact same thing. We get added to exchanges, we drop to new low, first higher high, and then we go into our first impulse. Now, what's really crazy here is just how much these two actually look the same. We get the top, we get the top, we even get the same little double bottom formation before rejecting and then finding our final low. Exact same thing happens here, guys. This is the same chart. And it's really important to understand this because ultimately we are already in the knowing that whatever Bitcoin does, altcoins follow. So Ethereum being the biggest driver of value for the altcoins, it's the best performing crypto besides Bitcoin, right? For Ethereum to be following the exact same market structure, it really isn't that crazy to understand because ultimately this is kind of what we would expect. you know, every single crypto out there follows Bitcoin, and they pretty much look almost the same a lot of the times. Now, it's crazy that the original Ethereum cycle looks almost identical to the original Bitcoin cycle. And we can see that right here. It's pretty much the same chart. The only real difference here is the fact that there was way more money flooding into Ethereum than there was Bitcoin. I mean, this is 5-cent Bitcoin, maybe up to $2. This is 40-cent Ethereum, up to $21. And so this is showing that there was a lot more adoption inside of the market. There was a lot more money that was willing to flood into Ethereum compared to Bitcoin way back when. And so what we saw here, if we actually just take this and continue to overlay it, what we saw here was still pretty much the same type of consolidation. You know, obviously it can look a little bit different here, but we saw the same type of parabolic move, right? Start consolidating here, and then we go for our blow off top. This is pretty much the exact same chart that we're seeing. Almost identically the exact same chart. And that's why I'm actually so bullish on Ethereum, is because ultimately, guys, where we're at inside of the Ethereum cycle is literally this first little move here. The very first beginning stages, right? Where we're at inside of Ethereum is literally the ground floor of all of this. Where Bitcoin went and made its first impulse in that first market cycle, this is where Ethereum's at today. And a lot of people will try and argue the point saying that Ethereum isn't going to do this type of market structure. But guys, it is already uncanny, the resemblance that we're seeing here. And what happens? Well, Bitcoin tops out at 3,200. We have this big crash. Let's even compare the crashes here. Bitcoin's crash was about 93%. Let's go see what happened inside of Ethereum. So Ethereum's crash would have been about 94%. Pretty much the exact same. Even the market structure here looks about the same. Obviously, it can look a little bit different, but we get the same lower highs, we get the same bounces, and we get the same type of correction all the way back down. The only real difference here that we've seen is the bottom structure. The bottom structure does look different. This is what happened with Bitcoin. You know, we made our first higher high, then we made a second higher high, and we pretty much just grinded on this trend line as we went into price discovery, right? This was the trend line, and then this is what happened. Now, guys, honestly, even though the structure looks a little bit different here, I still believe that this is what we're gearing up for. When we actually drop it to a bigger time frame, this was the cycle. Now, when we actually drop it to a bigger time frame, guys, this is the cycle that we saw from Bitcoin shortly after. A massive expansion. We literally went from $2 all the way up to $270 in one big move. And then we corrected, and that wasn't even the top. And then we went from there all the way up to $1,150. This was the type of market cycle that we saw for Bitcoin after its first impulse. This was the first leg up. Guys, where we're at in Ethereum is the exact same. The market structure can look different. It doesn't matter. What we're pointing out to you right now is the fact that where we're at is this first impulse. And what comes next is the biggest impulse, the most parabolic, the most profitable impulse. This is where you're going to make the majority of your money, is during these three-wave impulses. And honestly, this is where I think that we're at right now inside of Ethereum. Now, guys, when we take the Bitcoin chart and we overlay it over this next pump, I'm going to share with you guys what I think is going to come for Ethereum next. Now, when we actually take that same chart and then we overlay it on top of Ethereum, it looks something along the lines of this. Now, I've gone through and stretched this out to the point in which it hits $20,000 because that's my Ethereum price target. A lot of people have made fun of me for saying that, but guys, you simply cannot deny exactly how bullish Ethereum has been. We peaked at $1,400. Bitcoin, in its last cycle, it peaked at about $1,100, right? We had pretty much the same type of corrective move, and then what happened was a massive rally upwards of $20,000. About 80% of all cryptocurrencies rely on Ethereum. And so if you expect your favorite cryptocurrency to do multiple X's, how do you think that that's going to benefit Ethereum? Well, it's obviously going to benefit it a lot because that's always going to benefit Ethereum. Whatever is building on Ethereum, whatever is growing on Ethereum is going to be benefiting Ethereum long term. And this is why I've been so bullish on ETH long term, is because I've saw it as pretty much matching the same type of trend as Bitcoin. Where Bitcoin went to 20,000 last cycle, I'm expecting the same thing to happen to Ethereum. And I honestly think it will follow something along the lines of this. Now, obviously, guys, the market structure can look different. This is pretty much just near vertical. I wouldn't be surprised if we see big pumps, short-term corrections as we kind of build a more sustained uptrend. Because you guys got to understand that where we're at inside of Bitcoin back here, there really wasn't even that much money inside of its total market cap. You know, there may be a few billion, couple billion at the most. Whereas Ethereum today is at multiple billions. And so the price structure will look different. But ultimately, guys, what we saw here inside of Bitcoin was the three wave. This was the most parabolic cycle. And that's why it went so vertical, is because that's what the three wave is supposed to do, right? I mean, think about it. The one wave was very vertical, virtually just straight up, no pullbacks. But then this three wave, not only vertical, it was more profitable. And it was the most profitable one that you could have been a part of. And this is exactly the same thing that I'm expecting to have happen with Ethereum. We are still at the very early stages of this. If we look at the valuation of a market cycle, we're still in the stealth phase. I mean, if you go down the street and if you were to knock on 100 people's doors, depending on where you're at in the world, I live in Santa Monica, which everybody's pretty hip here around new upcoming technology because I'm right next to Silicon Valley. But the majority of you, if you were to knock on 100 doors and you were to ask them what Ethereum is, I would bet that the vast majority of people, probably 90% of people, would have no idea. And that's going to be the case. And what that tells me is we're still in the very, very early stages of all of this. And where Ethereum is at and what Ethereum is gearing up for is the biggest Elliott wave sequence that we've seen. Ultimately, what I think you guys should understand is once Ethereum breaks all-time highs, this really is the type of market structure that we're going to be expecting to see. Because ultimately, if we looked at what happened in the last Ethereum cycle, it was pretty on par with that. Vertical. Everything just went straight up. And I am expecting roughly the same type of thing to happen here. Now, the one difference that I will say is I think that the market structure itself, although I think Ethereum is setting up for this three-wave type move, the amount of money that's inside of Ethereum, I don't necessarily think that it's going to go this parabolic. I think that it would have a little bit more of a sustained uptrend, something along the lines of this, like we saw with Bitcoin in the last cycle. And if we actually take Bitcoin's last cycle and we overlay it with what's happening to Ethereum today, you guys are going to start to understand what I mean. Now, what we're seeing in Ethereum is a little bit of a steeper uptrend, right? We have this trend line, and we're respecting this trend line as we're growing and getting more parabolic. This is the same type of stuff that happened with Bitcoin in the last cycle, where we built this trend line, and then we stabilized off this trend line for a lot of months before ultimately going parabolic. I think that we're going to resemble a little bit more closely to what we saw inside of that cycle, where we kind of grind on this trend line as we build a more supportive base. And so that's really what I'm going to be watching out for. Now, the thing to understand is where we're at right now is an even steeper parabolic curve. And so it's hard to say exactly what this market structure is going to look like, but I would expect that we're going to continue to follow it kind of similarly to this. Might get one more impulse upwards to 800, correct back down, retest this trend line before ultimately going parabolic and going into price discovery. This is the type of stuff that I'm going to be watching for as an Ethereum holder, as an Ethereum investor, because ultimately, guys, where we're at is almost identical to many Bitcoin cycles that we've seen up to this point. The fact that we've only ever had 3 impulse waves in this entire sequence makes me so bullish that I've gone through and bought so much crypto over the last couple weeks, guys. Ridiculous amounts of crypto. More crypto than probably any of you guys even have in your portfolios. That's how bullish I am on this stuff. I've never been more bullish on crypto because ultimately this is the way that I'm going to be able to make a financial fortune for myself and never have to worry about money again. I'm already at that point. I already never have to worry about money again. I live in one of the richest areas in the entire world. And the thing about that isn't that I'm trying to brag. It's to show you guys that I'm a high school dropout. I literally started from nothing and turned this into what I have today. I didn't have anybody in my family to teach me this stuff at a young age. It was a lot of trial and error. And I can tell you guys firsthand that the reason I learned to get where I'm at today is from taking a lot of losses and staring at charts religiously every single day since 2016. And what I can tell you guys right now, where we're at inside of Ethereum is the beginning of something special. And if you guys miss out on this, I can tell you firsthand, you are really, really going to be angry at yourself by the end of this. When Ethereum starts hitting $20,000 and everybody's starting to FOMO buy, your family's hitting you up, asking you about how crypto's going, and you have to tell them that you sold early, I can promise you guys that that's going to hurt. And so just be prepared of all of this, guys. Just be aware that this is going to be the biggest cryptocurrency bull run that we've ever seen before. And I'm so thankful to have you guys a part of the team. So thankful that I get to be here as an influencer to show you guys the way and really just watch you guys, most importantly, make this financial fortune for yourself. Now, guys, as we wrap up this video, if you guys like what I do here, if you appreciate my content, and you guys really want to get at the ground floor on all of my signals, you should really check out my VIP stuff inside of my Discord. I offer 2 different packages. I offer my video course, which is 20 educational videos to teach you guys technical analysis, or I offer my signals. Now, the signals are a way for you guys to copy my portfolio, follow every single trade that I take, along with get private VIP videos that I only make for people inside of the signals. So if you guys want to get access to this stuff, if you want to know all of my trades, you want to be able to make this same profit with me all throughout this next cycle, you guys should really sign up and become a member today. On top of that, you get your own private chat room so you guys can ask me questions, congregate with the rest of my paid VIPs, and we can all just grow our portfolios together and really just help each other learn and grow. That's the most important thing here. I want you guys to learn. I wanted to create a group where you guys could be able to share your thoughts and perspectives with me. If you guys had questions, comments, concerns, you could share it with me and I could help you through all of that so that we could all profit together. So guys, links are provided for you in the description. You guys can purchase them together or separate. If you guys can only pick one, I always recommend going with the signals first because that's going to be the way you guys can make some money. Copy my portfolio, make these insane gains with me, and then if you guys ultimately want to pursue the course and learn this stuff full time, you can take profits and move it into that. And then ultimately, guys, this is what's going to really help you guys get on the right path. Really recommend checking it out. Now, one final thing before we wrap things up, guys, is if you don't want to pay for any of my VIP content, I do have a free ebook that's linked inside the description. This ebook is full of a lot of information that I wish I would have had when I got into these markets. I really spent a lot of time dedicating towards making it, 38 pages long, and it's really just a guide to help you guys understand the cryptocurrency markets a little bit more. It shows a little bit of trading, how to make a trade setup. It goes through some investing strategies, some emotional psychology and market cycles, and then I've also got some terminology along with a 10-part quiz so you guys can go through, read all the contents of the ebook, and then quiz yourself so you guys retain all of that knowledge learned. It's a really amazing guide, and it's free. So once again, guys, links are provided for you in the description to sign up for any of my VIP content or download my free ebook. And thank you guys so much for the support. With all that being said, I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.